help us hit our first 1,000 subscribers. Your support drives us to create even more wonderful stories. Thanks for being part of our journey. In this video, he booked a surprise weekend getaway to save their marriage. But when he opened the hotel room door, she wasn't alone. And what happened next was something no husband should ever see. Daniel had been feeling it for months. The slow drift, like a tide pulling him and Rachel further apart with every passing day. They used to laugh over burnt toast and fight over what movie to watch. Now, it was just cold silences, fake smiles, and routine kisses that felt more like obligations than affection. So he did what any hopeful husband would. He booked a weekend getaway to the coastal hotel where they had honeymooned 8 years ago. Same room, same view of the ocean, same hopes that maybe nostalgia could resuscitate what felt like a dying love. Daniel didn't tell Rachel until 2 days before. He wanted it to be a surprise, something spontaneous to break the routine. When he finally told her, expecting tears of joy or even a laugh, she just blinked and muttered, "That weekend, I have a client presentation Friday afternoon." He reassured her, "No worries, honey. I'll go early, set everything up. Just join me when you're done. We'll still have 2 nights together." Rachel hesitated for a second too long. Then she nodded, kissed him on the cheek, and said, "That sounds nice." But Daniel couldn't ignore the way she looked past him when she said it. Like she was distracted by something else. Someone else? He shook the thought from his head. He refused to be that guy, the insecure one, the suspicious one. Rachel had always been loyal, at least as far as he knew. Still, something didn't sit right in his stomach, but he blamed the stress, the distance, the years. Friday afternoon, Daniel checked into the hotel. The receptionist recognized him from years ago, which only made him more emotional. He unpacked candles, Rachel's favorite wine, even brought a playlist of their wedding songs. He texted her a photo of the room with the message, "Can't wait to see you tonight. I missed you." She replied 6 minutes later, "Meeting just started. Don't wait up. I'll be there later, promise." But she didn't send a heart. She always sent a heart. Daniel looked at the clock. 3:43 p.m. He poured a glass of wine but didn't drink it. He sat on the edge of the bed, staring out at the sea, wondering if he was being paranoid, or if he was about to learn something he could never unlearn. Don't go anywhere. The tension is just getting started. You won't believe what happens next in this story. Stay tuned and keep watching. It's only going to get deeper in the next chapter. By 9:17 p.m., Rachel still hadn't arrived. Daniel had lit the candles, opened the wine, even ordered room service for 2, which sat untouched on the table. He told himself she must be stuck in traffic or finishing work late. But something inside him was grinding like rusted gears. He texted again, "All okay? Should I come pick you up?" No reply. Daniel stood by the window, watching headlights flicker on the road leading to the hotel, hoping one of them was hers. Then, just as he was about to call, he saw something. Someone. Stepping out of a black sedan across the street. It was Rachel, but she wasn't alone. She stepped out laughing, her hand brushing against a man's chest as he followed her out of the car. Tall, sharply dressed, and definitely not a coworker Daniel recognized from her usual stories. Daniel froze, his phone slipping slightly in his hand. Rachel didn't notice the hotel lobby camera catching her smile. She didn't know Daniel could see her from the corner window of their suite, and as the man placed his hand on the small of her back, guiding her toward the back entrance, Daniel's chest tightened. Was he reading into it too much? Was this just work? Was he seeing what he feared, or what was actually happening? He grabbed his phone, ready to text her again, then stopped. No, he needed to know the truth, but not by asking. He needed to see it. Daniel stepped out of the room, took the stairs instead of the elevator, and slipped quietly into the hallway that connected the back service entrance to the second-floor suites. He kept his head down, heart thundering, and then he heard it. Laughter. Rachel's voice. Unmistakable. And the man's voice? Deeper, warmer. Room 204. They said it's got a jacuzzi. Daniel's legs went cold. 204 was just 2 doors down from their old honeymoon suite. He pressed himself against the wall, invisible behind a corner. Rachel passed by, her heels tapping over the carpet, her perfume trailing behind her. She never looked back. And Daniel? He didn't follow. Not yet. He just stood there, his entire body numb. As his world cracked quietly in the hallway of the place he thought might fix everything. You want to believe what Daniel does next. Stay with us. The moment of truth is only getting closer. The next chapter might just change how you see loyalty forever. In the next chapter. Daniel waited 5 minutes after they disappeared into room 204. Not because he needed time, but because he needed control. He didn't want to burst in, screaming, irrational, becoming the angry man he swore he'd never be. No, he needed to know why. He walked back to his room, slipped inside, and grabbed the spare hotel keycard from his jacket. The one he always kept, just in case. Then, without overthinking, he left his suite again, walked silently through the hallway, and stopped outside room 204. The voices inside were muffled, but not silent. He could hear laughter, music, soft, jazzy, the clink of glasses. Rachel never drank red wine at work events. That was her rule. His fingers hovered over the card reader. Then, a sharp female laugh pierced the door. Rachel's voice, not just laughing, giggling, playfully. Something in that moment broke Daniel's resolve. He slid the card. A faint click. The door unlocked. He opened it just a few inches. The room was dim, bathed in golden light from a bedside lamp. There was a jacket on the chair. Not his. Rachel's heels were by the bed. And then he saw her, on the couch, legs folded beneath her, a glass of wine in her hand, head tilted toward the man sitting way too close. They didn't notice the door. Daniel didn't step inside. He didn't say a word. He just watched her tuck a strand of hair behind her ear, watched the man lean in and whisper something that made her grin and blush, watched her hand brush against his thigh as she reached for the remote. And then, he slowly, silently closed the door. Back in the hallway, he stood motionless, swallowing the thick knot of betrayal rising in his throat. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't a work dinner gone too long. This wasn't even a moment of weakness. It was a choice. A quiet, smiling, wine-sipping choice. Daniel walked back to his suite, but this time he didn't pace. He didn't cry. He opened his laptop. He opened her email. And that's when something even more chilling appeared. A hotel reservation, made from her corporate account, but not for tonight, not for tomorrow. It was booked 3 weeks ago. You think you've seen betrayal? You haven't seen what Daniel is about to uncover. Stick around. The next chapter turns suspicion into proof. In the next chapter. Daniel stared at the hotel reservation on Rachel's screen, his pulse pounding in his ears. The confirmation email was addressed to her work account, and the name of the hotel was the same one they were staying in. But this wasn't just any booking. It was for room 204, and it was made under the name Alex Stone. That was him, her coworker, the same man she was giggling with on the couch 30 minutes ago. The timestamp chilled him to the bone. She had booked that room 21 days ago, long before the conference had even begun, long before she asked Daniel if he'd be okay with her staying a night or two alone after the business trip, just to unwind. The lie was layered, intentional, carefully placed like stones in a wall she didn't think he'd ever climb over. Fueled by quiet rage, Daniel opened her hidden folders. She never thought he'd dare to look there, the ones labeled budget_2021 and meeting notes. But Daniel wasn't searching for budgets. Inside budget_2021 was a series of screenshots, texts between Rachel and Alex, photos. One showed them at a rooftop bar, another in what looked like a hotel lobby. Their faces close, blurred in motion like they didn't care who saw. Then he found a video. Shaking, he hit play. Rachel was filming herself, laughing. "Guess who surprised me again?" Alex's voice came from behind the camera. "You love it." And she did. She smiled in a way Daniel hadn't seen in months. That smile wasn't his anymore. He slammed the laptop shut, his chest hollow, but he still wasn't ready to confront her. Instead, he emailed the files to himself. Then he copied them to a USB stick. Not for revenge. Not yet. For clarity. For proof. Because when he confronted her, and he needed to make sure she couldn't twist it, couldn't gaslight him, couldn't pretend it never happened. But just when he thought he had seen it all, He opened her deleted messages, and what he found in the trash changed everything. The trap has been set, but you won't believe what Daniel finds next. And who else is involved? Don't miss what's coming next. It will flip the whole story upside down in the next chapter. Daniel's hands trembled as he scrolled through the deleted messages in Rachel's email. Each one was like a whisper from a past she had tried to bury. A digital graveyard of secrets. Most were mundane. Reminders, receipts, office updates. But then he found one thread, partially erased but not fully gone. The subject line was vague. Quiet nights, finally, and the sender was listed as Alex Work. The first message was Rachel's. I can't stop thinking about that night in room 204. You made me feel more alive than I've felt in years. Daniel's starting to notice something. I hate lying to him, but I can't stop. Daniel couldn't breathe. He clicked through the replies. Alex had responded, we knew this day would come, but don't worry. He'll never find out, unless you tell him. And you won't. You need me now, Rachel. Each word hit Daniel like a hammer to the chest. But it wasn't just betrayal. It was the depth of it, the planning, the way they laughed behind his back while pretending to be polite in front of him, how Alex had stared him in the eye just the night before and asked if he wanted another drink. Daniel stood up, pacing the room like a man with a ticking bomb in his pocket. He looked at the hotel window, then at his reflection in the mirror, and for the first time, he didn't recognize the man staring back. But there was one last message in the thread, and it changed the entire game. It was from Rachel. We need to be more careful. I think he's starting to suspect. If he ever finds the USB, it's over. His blood turned cold. She knew. She had seen the USB was missing, and she was already planning how to cover it up. Daniel's heart raced. He wasn't just discovering the betrayal. He was now a target in their story. They weren't just hiding from him. They were preparing for war, and he had only one choice left: to strike first or to vanish before they erased him entirely. The next part will leave you breathless because the confrontation you think is coming is not the one you expect. Stay with us. It only gets darker from here in the next chapter. Daniel didn't sleep that night. Instead, he drove, mile after mile, city lights melting into the darkness as his thoughts spiraled around a single number. 204. It wasn't just a hotel room. It was a symbol, the place where his wife stopped being his. At dawn, he parked outside Hotel Larkspur, a discreet, business-class hotel just an hour from where they lived. The same one Rachel had claimed was too far to bother with. He sat in the car, watching guests come and go, wondering how many of them had secrets as deep as his own. After a long breath, Daniel stepped inside, trying to stay calm. He approached the front desk. I stayed here a few months ago, he lied smoothly. Room 204. I lost something important. A flash drive. Maybe even left it plugged into the TV. Could I check the room quickly? Just for a minute. The receptionist hesitated, typing, we can't allow anyone into a room unless it's empty. Daniel interrupted. I know it is. I just need 60 seconds. She looked around and handed him a keycard with a forced smile. As he stepped into room 204, his stomach tightened. It smelled of stale perfume and synthetic linen. The bed was perfectly made, but he could still see it, the version from the messages, her body on those sheets, her voice whispering Alex's name instead of his. Daniel searched every drawer, every surface, every cord behind the TV. Nothing. He was about to leave when his foot nudged the bed frame. A small plastic casing skittered out onto the carpet. A second USB. He hadn't known there were two. He grabbed it, slid it into his pocket, and walked out with a heart pounding like war drums. Back in the car, he opened his laptop and plugged it in. The files were labeled generically. Meeting 1, Thursday 1, HR_review. But one file stood out. It was titled simply, Don't watch this. He clicked. The screen went black, then blurry, then showed Rachel in bed, not with Alex, with someone else. Someone Daniel didn't recognize. His voice caught in his throat. This wasn't just betrayal. This was something deeper, more chaotic, more dangerous, because now Rachel wasn't just cheating. She was lying to both of them. And the man in the video, he was wearing a badge from Rachel's office. The stakes just exploded, and Daniel's about to find out this web goes far beyond one affair. What he uncovers next will flip the entire story. Stay tuned in the next chapter. Daniel couldn't take his eyes off the screen. The man in the video wasn't Alex. He wasn't anyone Daniel had seen before. But what caught Daniel's attention was the ID badge clipped to the man's belt. It had the logo of Rachel's company, the same one she claimed had a no dating coworkers policy. He paused the video and zoomed in. The name read, Spencer Holtz, Regional Director. Daniel's jaw clenched. He remembered Rachel mentioning Spencer months ago. She said he was too intense, always traveling, and barely knew his own team. Clearly, she knew more than she ever admitted. Daniel started digging. Within hours, he found Spencer's LinkedIn profile, company biography, and, most disturbingly, photos from a team-building retreat at a mountain lodge from 3 months prior. One photo stood out, Rachel and Spencer, standing far too close by the fireplace. Her hand was on his chest. He couldn't deny it anymore. It wasn't a mistake. It was a pattern, a choice. Rachel hadn't just cheated once. She had been living a double life, but something didn't add up. In the video, Spencer kept looking toward the nightstand, as if checking a camera. That's when it hit Daniel. This wasn't a spontaneous affair. It was filmed intentionally, which raised a terrifying question. Who recorded it, and why? And more importantly, was Rachel being used, or was she part of something even darker? This wasn't just about betrayal anymore. It was about manipulation, power, control, and Daniel knew the only way to find the truth was to confront Spencer face to face. But he had no idea what he was walking into, because some secrets don't just ruin marriages. They destroy lives. The real danger hasn't even begun. You won't believe what Daniel uncovers next. Keep watching in the next chapter. Daniel booked a room at the same hotel where the video had been recorded, not out of spite, but because he needed answers, real answers, from the man who had destroyed his marriage from the inside. He waited until he saw Spencer check in. Same cocky posture, same leather briefcase, same fake smile he wore in every company photo. Daniel followed him at a distance, his heart pounding, palms sweating. Spencer took the elevator to the 4th floor. Daniel waited 60 seconds, then went up the stairs. Room 416, the same number Rachel had typed into her phone that night. He knocked. No answer. Then knocked again, louder. The door cracked open, and Spencer appeared, shirtless, holding a glass of whiskey. Daniel didn't wait for an invitation. He stepped in, shut the door behind him, and said, "We're going to talk now." Spencer smirked. "Let me guess. You saw the tape?" Daniel's fists clenched, but he forced himself to stay calm. What was this? A setup? Blackmail? Was she in on it? Spencer sipped his drink and sat down on the edge of the bed. "You really don't know your wife, do you?" Daniel froze. Something in Spencer's voice felt too casual, too rehearsed, like this wasn't his first time saying it. "She reached out to me," Spencer continued, "said she needed a way out. A change. Something real." Daniel shook his head. "She wouldn't. Rachel wouldn't do that." Spencer raised a brow. "Wouldn't she?" Then he pulled out his phone and slid it across the bed. A message thread, Rachel's name at the top, and dozens of texts that proved everything. Not just flirtation, but coordination. She had asked Spencer to book the room. She had suggested recording it. She had even joked about how clueless Daniel was. His world spun. Every breath felt like it was being sucked out of the room. And then Spencer delivered the final blow. She said she needed insurance, in case you ever tried to take the house, or the kids. Daniel backed away, nauseous. This wasn't just betrayal. It was war, cold, calculated, and personal. But then something unexpected happened. Spencer's phone buzzed. He looked at it, and suddenly, the smug expression vanished. His face turned pale. He stood up fast, and for the first time, he looked afraid. Daniel grabbed the phone and read the message. It was from a number neither of them recognized. "You should have deleted the copy. Now it's my turn." Daniel looked at Spencer. "Who else knows about this?" Spencer didn't answer. because whoever sent that message was already in the hotel, and they weren't done yet. And what happens next will change everything. You can't miss what comes after this. Keep watching in the next chapter. Daniel stared at the message again, heart racing, the words burning into his brain. You should have deleted the copy. Now it's my turn. He turned to Spencer, who was now pacing the room like a trapped animal. Who else knows about this? Daniel asked, his voice low. Dangerous. Spencer shook his head. Almost too fast. No one. I deleted everything. I swear. But Daniel wasn't buying it. He grabbed the phone again, opened the contact number. No name, no ID, just a string of digits. And a chill hit him. It was a number he recognized. Not from Spencer, not from Rachel. It was from Claire, Rachel's sister. He hadn't spoken to her in years, not since the wedding, but the last time they talked, she'd told him something strange, something he dismissed as jealousy. You really think she married you for love? She had said. Back then, he thought Claire just hated Rachel for being the golden child. Now, everything clicked. Daniel pulled up his own messages and searched for her number. More texts from months ago. Ignored, unread, but one stood out. Sent 2 months before the hotel incident. Don't let your guard down. She's planning something. Spencer grabbed his coat. I'm leaving. You can handle whatever this is on your own. Daniel blocked the door. You're not going anywhere until I get the truth. Spencer laughed, but there was panic behind it. You already got it. What more do you want? Daniel stared at him. I want to know why she dragged Claire into this. And then his phone rang. Caller ID. Claire. He answered. Claire? Her voice was trembling. I'm outside your room. Daniel rushed to open the door. There she was. Eyes red, hands shaking. She stepped inside, looked at Spencer, then turned to Daniel. I tried to stop her, she said. But Rachel, she didn't just want insurance. She wanted control over everything. What are you talking about? Daniel asked. Claire pulled a flash drive from her coat pocket. She recorded everything, every conversation, every moment, even you. And now, someone else has it. Spencer snatched the flash drive from her hand. But before he could react, the hotel's fire alarm blared to life. Lights flashed, sirens wailed. A voice came over the intercom. Evacuate immediately. Daniel turned to Claire. Her lips were trembling. There's more, Daniel, she whispered, but I couldn't say it over the phone. He stared at her, mind racing, adrenaline surging. Then say it now. She hesitated, tears welled in her eyes. Rachel's not just cheating. She's been stealing from you. 4 years. Your name, your accounts, everything. Daniel felt like the floor beneath him vanished. But before he could speak, the door burst open, and someone in a black hoodie rushed in, face hidden, holding a phone, recording. Give me the flash drive. The voice demanded. Spencer stepped back. Claire screamed. And Daniel? He finally realized. This wasn't just betrayal. It was a setup from the start, and someone else was pulling the strings all along. You won't believe what happens next. The final chapter is where everything explodes. Don't stop now. Keep watching in the next chapter. The hooded figure lunged forward. Daniel grabbed the nearest object, the hotel lamp, and swung it with all his strength. It crashed against the figure's shoulder, forcing them to drop the phone and stumble backward. Claire screamed. Spencer ducked behind the bed. Daniel pinned the attacker to the wall and yanked down the hood. His heart stopped. It wasn't a stranger. It was Rachel. Her eyes were cold. Her voice. Ice. You should have left it alone, Daniel. He stared at her, speechless. Claire stepped forward. You were behind all of it? Rachel laughed bitterly. You really thought I was just cheating on you? That's all you saw. Daniel's hands trembled. Why do this? Why ruin everything? She walked past him, calm, almost smug, because it was never real. None of it. The marriage, the love, you were just a means to an end. Daniel clenched his jaw. To what end? Rachel looked at Claire, then at Spencer, and finally back at him. I needed your name, your background, your credit. You were clean. I wasn't, Claire whispered. She used you to launder money, set up offshore accounts, then planned to disappear. Rachel smirked. And you were so desperate for love, you never noticed. The room spun. All the nights, the promises, the smiles. Fake, all of it. Spencer sat on the floor, stunned. Claire pulled the flash drive from her coat again. I copied everything, she said. Every file, every video, every message. Rachel's face changed for the first time. Panic. You didn't. Oh, I did, Claire replied. And it's already been sent to the FBI. Rachel lunged again, but this time Daniel was faster. He caught her wrist, twisted it, and held her back. You're done, he said. This ends now. The hotel security arrived seconds later, alerted by the fire alarm. They handcuffed Rachel as she screamed threats, curses, and finally, silence. Daniel sat down on the edge of the bed, breathing hard. Claire placed a hand on his shoulder. I'm sorry you had to go through this. He nodded, broken but awake. Thank you for saving me. But just as Claire stood up, her phone buzzed. She read the message. Her face went pale. What is it? Daniel asked. She turned the screen toward him. A video of Daniel, sitting alone in his office, looking at documents, sent just 2 minutes ago. From his own number, Daniel took the phone, heart hammering again. A text followed. It's not over. This was just phase 1. And right then he realized Rachel wasn't working alone. Someone else was still out there, watching, waiting, and everything he thought was over was only just beginning. If you made it this far, you're not ready to stop. The story has one last twist that nobody, not even Daniel, saw coming. Leave a comment below. Who do you think is behind phase 2?